Live from the Hospital Hill studios in Babane, it is just gone 10 o'clock Central Africa time. Good evening and welcome to the news brought to you by Eswatini TV. I'm Sally going on. I'm with the Makabisong Kambole. Let's begin here first. Your headlines tonight. The Deputy Prime Minister, Senator Thulisile Dladla, has congratulated children who have benefited from her office program that empowers child-headed families with skills to start businesses that can sustain them. The Minister of Agriculture says the ministry has projects that have already begun to ensure that the country attains food security. In the Eswatini Electricity Company has announced the commencement of the Lower Makuduza Hydropower Scheme project. Good evening, the news in detail. The Deputy Prime Minister, Senator Thulisile Dladla, has congratulated children who have benefited from her office program that empowers child-headed families to start businesses that can sustain them.
The program, which started in 2020, has benefited over 660 households. The Deputy Prime Minister, Senator Thulisile Dladla, says her office will live up to the occasion and ensure the welfare of all Eswatini.
Ingwenyama isitshelile yathi angifuni kube nomntwana longathi uphila kamadini. Angeke ke niphume isendele itendele itfumathini.
It is not very common to see heads of state pay much care to the individual welfare of their subjects. In Eswatini, we have been privileged to have their majesties assign us to attend to the needs of every Liswati. I will see to it that you are provided with seed capital to extend your entrepreneurial endeavors. May I encourage that we unite to see the vision of inclusive development fulfilled.
Speaking on behalf of the parents, Jerry Masugu praised the efforts of the DPM's office in assisting vulnerable children. Masugu encourages the beneficiaries to remain committed to utilizing their skills for their livelihood.
Ngifuna ukusho ke kini lokho ukuthi certificate diyohlala elibonzeni.
As relatives, we extend our gratitude to the office of the DPM. To the beneficiaries, congratulations on being certified, though I urge you to use your God-given talents. Certificates will be portrayed for the walls, but your talents, skills, and abilities must earn you a living.
The graduating beneficiaries come from Mochane, Mafuteni, and Lamkapi constituency. They acquired skills in hairdressing, nail artistry, and makeup. Speaking on behalf of the beneficiaries, Nokolo Mabuza thanked the DPM's office for affording them the opportunity to acquire vocational skills and supporting them with inputs for agricultural necessities.
I cannot appreciate the efforts of the DPM enough. I can now venture into poultry farming. May this assistance extend to other young people who need it the most.
Currently, under this program, 72 households have received harvesting inputs for gardening activity, 66 households have received goats, and 13 households have received 78 chickens. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I am Notile Sitole with Bongan Masugu at the George Hotel in Manzini.
The Minister of Education and Training, the Honourable Owen Nxumalo, says there are about 53 schools that have submitted a comprehensive list of students whose fees are paid by the ministry. The minister urges principals to ensure that they submit a list on time because the start of 2025 school calendar has already started.
Bohe teacher bayaphuta lokusubmit. Nyalo nje benyocheka lapha la lokuyela bakusubmitile ukhanze ukuthi bente ama-errors. Ukhanze ukuthi mhlambe bashota inombolo etinkulu ufuna ke letiko liphinde lijikise likubisele emuva. Lokhu ngikhuluma nje tikolwa letente kahle konke kwaphelela kahle thing 53. Kepha lenzaba lena guluta ukukhumbula sikhathi ngicala ngikhuluma. Bohe teacher abangibambisi. Nase ngikhulumile nje nabo ukuthi afuna vele ngigcine sengikhipha le list labo head teacher labanga submit labendela ama errors. Noma bese kubonakala ngazi ukuthi ngihulumende lo ngakhona ukukhipha imali ngesikhathi. Kanti letinto tiyaphuthwa lokusubmitwa this noma setisubmitiwe kube nema errors lamanengi. Nase clicker checking lokusho mina tikolwa nje nyalo nje sitakubhadala only 53 schools of which lapho it's about 8% compliant. Kubuhlungu lokho nyanyalo ngiyacela ngoSambo head teacher aningibambiseni noma phela bese kubonakala ukuthi awu litiko alendi kahle. Kulelo kuphuphuka lokukhola kwentekile recently eyivele sisatobuka ukuthi sibambisana kanjani noma solo nale makontrakt lasilekelela satozama ukuthi sibhadale sinenkinga nje vele lapho egule ngayithinza nakusasa ecabinet sibonakala sithinza na finance sibungaba kuhle lo singasithi ivula tikolwa tibe letho tikolwa letho sethi sitakele but ke vele kunetinkinga kunema challenges ke kulelo hlangothi ngepha ngiyathemba lokuthi tangibambise ecabinet sitaphuma nalo likhambi.
The Minister of Agriculture, the Honourable Mandla Chauka, says the ministry has projects that have already begun to ensure that the country attains food security. Chauka says that while rolling out these projects, some will also address the impacts of climate change, making them climate resilient. The minister was speaking while sharing the ministry's plan to improve food security.
The Minister of Agriculture, Honourable Mandla Chauka, has reaffirmed the government's commitment to achieving food security following His Majesty King Eswatini III's directive for the nation to ensure abundant food production in the country.
Sinehlelo lapho khona sithole 183 million lesithi livestock improvement project lapho khona sitawulima tinkomo noma ke sitawufuya tinkomo netimboti ngendlela lenebuchwephesha ekhathi yende ukuthi sikhulise lo mkhicido wethu kwekuqala siphinde sikhicide nale quality sikhulise le quality yale tinkomo nale timboti sitawakha i-breeding stations and artificial insemination.
The minister says among the project is a program to enhance livestock production with 183 million emalangeni allocated to improve the genetics and quality of the national herd. The minister says this includes building a breeding center and a laboratory for artificial insemination, which was launched last year at Lubulini. The minister says another major project involves mobilizing 828 million emalangeni in funding, partly through a grant from IFAD. The minister says that this initiative focuses on increasing grain and vegetable farming through e-Wade with the aim of supplying sufficient food for the nation. Minister Chauka says that the Mbageni Dam project will play a crucial role in ensuring resilience of agricultural initiatives to climate change. The minister highlighted that the project will incorporate modern farming techniques, including the use of tunnels, which provide controlled environments for crop production. Eswatini TV News on Mlangeni, Matapa.
The Minister of Education, Nxumalo, says the ministry will engage the Principals Association and start to resolve the issue of the over 2,000 pupils who failed Standard 5. These pupils are expected to repeat Standard 5. However, teachers will not be willing to teach them since a new curriculum will be introduced this year.
Sekhona kumhlangano lengdawo lotangenda ukuthi ngibone bo head teacher ngibone kanye naSnat sibonisane noma vele kuyabonakala ukuthi kutaba nemthwalo kune curriculum lensha lengenako endlaba bavumene baphinze kulelenzala so kutafuna ke vele TSC kubonakala ukuthi basitakala kanjani noma phela vele uyabona ukuthi kufuna kungetho letinombolo kuletikolwa lapho khona kutawuphinzakala khona kufuna ibe khona le support so ngicabanga ke ukuthi sitaw engagena boSnat kanye nabo head teacher sikhulumisane lokuthi le support ngula ishoda khona ngula lafike sifake khona because vele akusinormal kuyabonakala ukuthi kutaba ngumthwalo so ke thine ke kufuna silethe indlela lokuthi lo mthwalo siwehlisa njani kuze ukuthi abantwana bachubeke baphela abantu bafuna singabalahla batabe bayalimala sebangena kuletinye izinto nokubafuca kusiba embili kunebungoti lobo noma pha nawe uyabona gule ukuthi sekuma A levels so lapha nje kufana ukuthi sitabe postpone iproblem so sifuna sihlale phansi sivumelane nathi kube mhlambe angisho lokuthi kube mhlambe nathi ngakithi libe khona iphutha sibe mhlambe sesibhala bosekula singakhulumisani but it's never late sitaw engagena sikhulumisane lokumcoka ukuthi siphume nema solutions ukuthi senza njani. So nasengejana sizabe sinaye sinabo laba baka-TSC so that sivumelana ngako lapho bese-ke siyaku-implementa before tingakavulwa tikolo.
The Principal Crown Counsel heading the Sexual Offences Unit, Futhi Lushaba, has affirmed that Eswatini has adequate laws to fight sexual abuse. Lushaba says these laws have been highly effective in prosecuting perpetrators of rape and other sexual offences cases.
The Royal Eswatini Police Service received 15 cases of rape during the festive season, a concerning rise in sexual violence incidents. In response to this, the Principal Crown Counsel and the Director of Public Prosecution, Futhi Lushaba, reassured the public that Eswatini has a strong legal framework in place to address and combat such crimes.
Imithetho lesinayo eveni kwanyalo ngingasho mina lokho ukuthi iyasebenza ngoba siyibonile isebenza sitibonile netigwebo letikhulu tiphuma lokusho kona ukuthi imithetho iyasebenza lengakusho nje ukuthi imithetho lesinayo nyalo kubala lembalwa sinayo i-Sexual Offences and Domestic Violence Act.
Lushaba says that the country's laws are sufficient to tackle sexual violence, saying that some of these laws are relatively new and have been instrumental in ensuring justice for victims. Lushaba pointed out the significant role the Sexual Offences and Domestic Violence Act has played in encouraging victims to come forward and report these crimes. Lushaba expressed gratitude to government for enacting the law, which has been pivotal in their fight against sexual abuse. Lushaba also acknowledged that the conviction rate for sexual violence cases currently stands at 20 to 30 years, depending on the specifics of each case. Lushaba also praised the courts for their swift handling of these cases, ensuring that perpetrators are brought to justice in a timely manner. In a recent court ruling, a man was sentenced to 30 years in prison for sexually violation of 2 minors. The Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni with Skumbuzo Dlamini, Mbabane.
The Minister of Education has clarified that schools are permitted to charge application fees for student admissions, but that fee must not exceed 50 Malangan. The statement comes after concerns were raised about some schools allegedly overcharging prospective students. The Ministry's Undersecretary in the Ministry of Education, Lungelo Tlengethwa, emphasized that while the Ministry does not encourage schools to admit students based on merit, it does not prohibit the charging of reasonable application fees as part of the process.
Kunemali lekuthiwa i-registration fee lesikhathi uyibale ngokuthi i-admission fee leyo ukuthi umntwana masangena esikolweni somnikela indzawo so uyabhalisa-ke nyalo ukuthi sotofundza so uyamregister-ke lapho leyo mali ibalela ku-school fees-ke leyo.
The Undersecretary in the Ministry of Education, Lungelo Tlengethwa, states that schools are within their rights to charge an application fee to process student applications. However, these should be kept at a maximum of 50 emalangeni. The issue of application fees has been existing in recent years, with some parents complaining that high fees unfairly disadvantage low-income families who hope for admission. He emphasizes that this should not be used as a barrier to education to exclude hopeful pupils. On another note, Tlengethwa says they discourage schools from admitting pupils with only merit passes. Tlengethwa says schools should operate within the principles of fairness and transparency when admitting pupils for the 2025 academic year. Reporting, I am Notsilesi Tole in Babane.
The Eswatini Electricity Company EEC Managing Director Ernest Mkonda has announced the commencement of the Lower Makuduza Hydropower Scheme project. Now, speaking at the EEC headquarters, Mkonda revealed that the project costing 1.1 billion Malangeni will create 100 job opportunities for Eswatini.
The much-anticipated Makuduza Hydropower Scheme project, conceptualized in 2015, has finally become a reality. Announcing its commencement, the Eswatini Electricity Company's Managing Director, Ernest Mkonda, says that the project has a potential to significantly boost the nation's energy sector.
The hydropower has the capacity of 13.5 megawatts, which is an initiative that was started by the Eswatini Electricity Company through a public procurement process, which resulted in a consortium led by Old Mutual winning the bid. This project represents 20% of local generation, which is approximately about 64 gigawatt hours. What is more significant, though, is that this represents about 5% of the local, or rather of the Eswatini demand.
Richard Goldon, representing the team tasked with executing the project, commended the country's efforts in mobilizing resources, saying that 75% of the funds were raised within Eswatini.
And the equity is coming from PSPF and Old Mutual through a South African fund. The equity is held 50-50, so 50% of the ownership of the project is held by PSPF, 50% by Old Mutual through a South African equity fund. So ownership is 50% local, and then of the money that's raised, after you include the Standard Bank debt, over 70% is raised locally.
The hydropower scheme is expected to be completed within 24 months. Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni, Babane.
Right, with that, we segue into the world of business, where we take a look at financial indicators to get a sense of how our markets are faring today in the Up Next Financial Report.
Standard Bank.
Right, in our sports news, the coach of Singizini Hotspurs, Alexis John, stated that they will continue to strengthen the team's efforts and fight to improve their position in the MTN Premier League, as they are one of the most financially well-supported teams. Now, Sir John was speaking after their team's victory in their match against Rangers, which they won with a score of 2-1.
In the Shizeleng region, a major match took place between Singizini Hotspurs and Rangers at the King's Opposite at the Second Memorial Stadium. Singizini won the match with a 2-1 score, moving them to a third place in the MTN Premier League standings. After the match, Alexis John of Singizini shared his thoughts.
On a fair, based on fair, with what we have, what we are being provided by the club, it won't be fair if we said we are not going for championship. Because if you look, we are one of the stable clubs in the country, so we are going straight for the championship. We don't have two ways that we can defend ourselves. If we fail, then we have also admit that we fail. But right now, we are just going for the championship.
Rangers coach Sihlema Vimbela expressed his disappointment, stating that losing in this manner is very painful to them.
Created a few chances. Unfortunately, we missed them, especially one-on-one situations when we tend to rush where we're not supposed to rush. So, but this is it's a work in progress. My boys are learning because we learn from mistakes. So they say again, it's a best teacher. So we'll pick up, we'll copy to the pulpit, and then go on, fight on. It's very disappointing, especially losing at this minute, last end, especially when I try to communicate with my players. Each and every, the last 5 or 7 minutes, I always make sure that I inform my players that at least, hey, there's so many minutes left, so that we'll know what do we have.
No team from the Shiseleng region has ever won the MTN Premier League title, and these two teams will want to make history by lifting the Holy Grail. The reporting for Eswatini TV Sports, I'm Linda Dlamini. Bye-bye.
Right, and just like that, we hit the home stretch of the news at 10 at Eswatini Television. Before we go, a quick reminder of the top stories tonight. The Deputy Prime Minister has congratulated children who have benefited from her office program that empowers child-headed families with skills to start businesses that can sustain them. The Minister of Agriculture says the ministry has projects that have already begun to ensure the country attains food security. And the Eswatini Electricity Company has announced the commencement of the Lower Makutuza hydropower scheme project. Right, and just like that, we come to the conclusion of the news at 10 at Eswatini Television. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with us. We shall now cross over to the Weather Center for a detailed weather report from us and the team at Eswatini TV. For now, it is good night and God bless.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds, full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, to feel the rush of life overwhelm you, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. You ask, and we give you the royal experience. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams.